Hey everyone, welcome back to Craps University, your home for mastering the game of craps inside and out. Today we're going to talk about a little topic. We're not going to roll any dice, but this is kind of an important topic, and it lets everybody know that what bets are working all the time and what bets can be off. So let's talk about when a bet is working. That means it is a live bet. For example, if we look at a pass line bet, that is a live bet. When you put that down, the next roll, no matter what, same with the don't pass, okay? Same with field. You can't turn that off. Like, if you want to turn it off, pick it up. And that just means when your bets are on, the next roll, something's going to happen to that bet. Or nothing's going to happen to that bet in the regards of a pass line. When a bet is off, that means you can temporarily freeze it. So there's some unwritten rules. Let's say that there's a point established. You have money on the 6 and 8. Let's make it look right with some caps. $30 each. A roll happens, a 5 hits. It goes off. So what happens next is a come out roll. And by default, these will be off. Now, you can tell the dealer and say, hey, I want my place bets working. And they will take this is called a lammer, on, off, two-sided, and they'll put on right there. They know that all your bets on the pass line are on because they only have to indicate that one is on, all of them are on. I don't think you can really pick and choose. Also, if let's say you have a buy bet on the 4, that's going to be off by default, but you can also say, let's turn that on, like on the come out roll. There's some reasons behind turning bets on like that. So let's start with the bets that are always working no matter what. And we quickly discussed pass line and don't come, or don't pass, okay? Those are always working. Now, when you put a bet here in the come, the next roll, so technically this is working, but when it moves up to a number, and let's say you put 4 times odds on it, okay? And a number hits, say you had a 4, that 4 hit, they turn it off. What happens here on a come bet that has traveled to a number, same with don't come, it works exactly the same way. That base bet of $25, you can't turn it off. The reason being is that is basically just a second pass line. So you could have a pass line and a come bet with odds. It's the same thing. It's a pass line bet, basically. Same with a don't come or a DC, which is right here. Once it's traveled and the 4 hit and you're coming out and a 5 hits, let's make it a proper 5. A 5 hits. What happens here is, since it's a don't come, you lose your base bet. The dealer will take that. But since your odds are off, they'll come back and put them in the come for you. That's how that works. The same if you were, this was a come bet, and you hit that same 5, you didn't have a come bet here. So what happens is they take that odds, they hand it back to you, and then they pay you 1-to-1 and they move you out so you can pick that up. It's pretty straightforward once you get the hang of it. Field bets we mentioned. When you put your money there, next roll is going to determine the outcome. Now, this table does not have this over here. It's on a lot of tables that I've seen in Las Vegas. It's called a big 6 or 8. Why anybody would bet that, it's beyond me. But if you put your money down on a big 6 or 8, it's for that next roll. I'd much rather have my money up here on a place bet instead of here on the big 6 and 8. It only pays 1-to-1, where this is going to pay you 7 for every 6. So once you see that, I consider that a big time sucker bet. If I see anybody that does that, I kind of chuckle. Depending on who it is, I'll let them know. You know, they might have a reason why they like to play it, but you know, you might as well play it up here on the place bet. And if they want to play that big 6 and 8, and they want to have it working on the come out, it would be working. You can just put it up here and tell your dealer, I want my place bets working. And be specific, right? So if you have bets, let's say you got some Hardways out here, you know, make sure that you don't say, I'm working. Because they might say, what are you working? Because there's all sorts of bets that we want to make sure you're telling the dealer you're working. Here on the Hardways, you can tell the stick man, I'm working. And usually when you do that, the dealer is listening and they're backing each other up, for sure. Proposition bets are working. C's and E's, horns, world bet, those are working. These Hardways are proposition bets, but I normally see that they're off on the come out roll unless you indicate. Let's just say there's some high roller out there who says, hey, my bets are off on the come out, and this little 5 and dimer down here, he says I'm on. That's what they'll do. But if the high roller was to say, hey, I want my Hardways working too, then what they do, instead of marking up everybody, they just put it right there in the middle, and it indicates everybody in here is working, because it can get kind of crazy. 7 positions on each side of this table, 14, spreading 14 people's bets. If everybody's working, it's easier to do that than doing single bets. Okay, pretty straightforward stuff. First time I heard or was asked, are you working? I didn't know what it meant. You know, this was decades ago. So a lot of these proposition bets don't take a break no matter what. The hot bets, you know, they're ready to go all the time. Again, you have to be vocal at the table. You have to enunciate and be clear so the dealers can understand what's working. Because I've seen a lot of controversy that, you know, place bets on the come out, it hits, and somebody will say, pay me. And then the dealer will say, you didn't tell me you were working. And I was at the table, And that individual didn't say that. So I've seen it go both ways. When a 7 hits, if this person doesn't say I'm working, then that's off, and that saved them some money too. So why would you want a bet to be off? Okay, so this is a $1,000 question. So people that are playing it safe on the come out, you want to lock in a big wind and protect it. So let's say there's a roll that is a good roll and you're pressing up, okay? You probably don't want that on the come out, because I see 7s hit quite a bit. So by default, they're off. If you want to take that risk, tell your dealer that you're working. So the shooter is resetting, and you want to pause in your action. So I see a lot, it's funny, I see a lot of times that we're in the middle of a roll and this might hit. 3 craps, AC deucey. That might hit. I see people that are superstitious and they might say, turn my place bets off for the next roll to happen, and it's a 3 again. They'll still stay off, okay, and they'll roll them. That's an 8. Well, this person's off, and he could have got paid. He or she could have got paid, but they're off. Then they'll take it off and they'll feel better. It's just, to me, I think it's more of a superstition type things. Also, when you're on a don't, let's just say a don't come here, or yeah, don't come, you can turn them off. Your base bets will still be working, of course, but so the question is, when would you want to turn them on? Let's just say you've been at the table for a while, there's a shooter that you feel very confident in, and you're you want action every single roll. Or you're pressing aggressively, like the opposite of turning this off and then saying, hey, we hit an 8, I didn't get to press that, because that would take that $30 bet to 60, and then if the 60 hits, it pays 70. So that's the value of pressing these place bets. You can get quite nice bets out there. Or the shooter is hot, and you're just riding that wave of a good roll or a hot shooter. So here's how you communicate like a pro. Just say you're working up here. If you're up here, just say I'm working up there, and they know, even for come bets, they'll turn the odds back on. Or you can say off, or off this roll only. So a lot of times they'll put out off just that roll, they'll remove it the next roll after the outcome. I've seen it work, and I've seen it kind of go against the shooter, but everybody's different. So sometimes I also see somebody turning bets off and they forget to turn them back on. It's not the dealer's responsibility to manage your bets for you. It's your responsibility. Now, there are good dealers out there that will say, is that working again? And all you got to do is say yes, and they'll remove it. You know, there are some super good dealers. All the dealers are good. Sometimes it's a struggle just because they have so many weird bets out there. They're trying to manage 7 different people, a boxman, a stickman, a shooter. You know, there's just a lot going on. So, you know, have a little patience. So what makes a bet working? It's simple. It's you. You know, we know that some bets are working all the time. We went through pass line, don't pass field, some of these proposition bets. You know, if you don't want it to work, don't put it out there, because these proposition bets, except for the Hardways, are one roll bets. Just wait. So it's very straightforward. Next time a dealer asks and says, "Are your bets working?" you'll know exactly what to say. So in conclusion, did you ever have a roll go sideways because your bets were off? Or worse, you thought they were off? Drop that story in the comments so we can all take part in that. If you're enjoying these breakdowns, make sure you follow Craps University. We're just getting started.